Good afternoon, everyone. I think people are taking a good break. So, what I thought I'd do, throughout the morning, as well as even right now in the panel, there's been a lot of mention of AI, data science, technology like blockchain, sprinkled throughout the conversation. Is there? So, what I thought is you can take away. So, I'm an AI scientist by training. I have a PhD from Michigan. I'm an electrical engineer by training, and I went on to get a PhD in computer vision, and I joined IBM Research, which is where I spent the last 21 years in bringing research innovations to the real estate industry. More on that, especially during the high housing crisis. I'll refer to that in a bit. But today, what I thought is there's a lot of myth and hyperbole about blockchain, AI, and machine learning. And unfortunately, real estate investors such as yourselves, or mortgage finance companies, or real estate agents, or real estate broker professionals, often do not really get the depth of how mature AI is today. So my goal is to really, for you to walk away with a clear understanding when people throw these words at you, that you can actually rebut them, counter them, ask your questions, and also encourage all of you to take advantage of the AI technologies that are around today. Okay? So I'm going to actually go right into the definition instead of given the time limitations. So you might have heard terms like machine learning, deep learning, and AI, and cognitive computing, non-stop in the newspapers. So 2011 and 2012 was the renaissance years of AI. So I'm a lifelong AI scholar. So I did my neural network work in the late 1980s, and I've seen the entire trajectory of excitement in AI and the winter of oblivion in the late 90s and the resurgence now. Right? So when people are talking about machine learning, think of that as statistical techniques, mathematical techniques that take all kinds of data, quantitative data, whether it is about the housing, property valuation, or it is about the buyer, borrower risk, numbers as well as documents, images and speech and audio, all of that are being processed by the statistical techniques to make different kinds of predictions, to truly understand the patterns and make predictions. The prediction could be, what is this property going to, how it is going to increase in price in over time, or is this borrower at risk of default, before you make a mortgage loan to that prospective borrower. All of that is machine learning. And deep learning is a particular type of machine learning where it is using more like neural networks, like the ones that are in our brain, to simulate these, to do this statistical analysis. So think of a self-driving car. So that is actually looking, it's using machine learning techniques to recognize the lane markings, as well as the pedestrian crossings, the stop signs, and yield signs. So machine learning is very powerfully has been applied to speech recognition, image recognition, and that's why it's very well used in self-driving cars. But recognizing patterns is not just AI, right? That is just machine learning. Machine learning is part of AI. You've got to do reasoning, and you've got to plan and schedule. Think about, again, take the self-driving cars as an example. Okay, so the car is going along, it sees this, it comes across a pedestrian crossing, and then there is a child who is crossing the pedestrian crossing. Now the car not only has to recognize the pedestrian crossing than the child, if there is a human child there, it has to also now reason whether it is stopping distance, and it has to take the action of actually stopping. So the reasoning, planning, and scheduling, which we do so effortlessly, all that comprises of artificial intelligence. People don't talk about it, but that is really the true power of AI, not just machine learning techniques. Cognitive computing is really a paradigm of computing. Rather than writing code by rules, the cognitive computing is about having systems that continuously learn. So when people tell you about machine learning, deep learning, AI, and cognitive computing, now you have a they truly mean. And you can actually question what depth of artificial intelligence techniques they are bringing to the table, so you're making more well-informed decisions. Okay, with that background, where is it? So when I was at AI, I left IBM just a few months ago to do my own startup. My passion is to bring the power of AI to financial services and the healthcare industry. I will point out what my company is going to be is tackling in a couple of slides later. But when I was at IBM for the past 2.5 years, I went all around the globe talking to leaders like you, CEOs and C-level officers of companies from banks and the industrial sector and retail, and their demand of my time was to help them to figure out which aspects of AI are real today, and rather than waiting it out, sitting on the sidelines, whether they should be jumping in. And today, more than 80% of executives around the world want to adopt AI, but 63% of them are fearful of the implications and the risks. So let's first figure out where AI has been deployed and has actually yielded provable business outcomes. And if you look at that, engagement. AI is transforming the way you engage with your customers. Whether your customer is a prospective home buyer who has come into the real estate office and looking around, or it would be a prospective borrower who is looking for a loan, whoever that might be, the experience is completely being revolutionized by the injection with the right kind of AI. And you're all familiar. Now all of you are using Siri and Alexa at homes to have your questions answered, to help you, set reminders and so on. And they are all using machine learning techniques inside where they are understanding the language, the natural language you are speaking, and they are figuring out what's being asked of Alexa and Siri, and they are fetching information and answering that either in text form or in voice form. And that is AI. That is AI that is today, which is sitting in your pocket. And what has happened is that consumer AI has actually moved to enterprise AI and revolutionizing contact center operations. So next is decision. Wherever people are struggling with humongous amounts of data where you have to make decisions. Morning we talked about how Stonehenge is collecting, amassing vast amounts of data from their tenants and trying to figure out and provide the best experience. And whether it is front office or risk management, you are struggling with not only today private data, there is a outgrowth of information around in the public arena, whether it's social media, web and so on. How do you bring all that information in order to make the best decision possible? Whether this borrower is worth making is worth the risk of making the loan payment, etc. So that's where decision, AI systems are providing enormous assistance in terms of being true, intelligent companion in your decision making. Thirdly, AI also has proven to be a discoverer, assisting people even in creative art, whether it is music or fashion design, or even in oncology, where AI is looking for new kinds of things even doctors might not be able to comprehend, and alerting doctors. So 60 Minutes program last year had a complete feature on how IBM-based Watson is helping oncology patients to get the best new clinical trial medicine. So when there was a pilot comparing the performance of an AI system as well as the doctors, 70% of the cases, the AI system's recommendation of the clinical trial very well aligned with what the oncologist team recommended. But in 30% of the cases, AI system was able to uncover new trial which had just been published in some other part of the globe and bring it to the attention of it. So that is what truly AI is able to now discover. So there are 3 patterns of the use of AI which have made their way into the enterprise and proving real outcomes. So in real estate industry, that means, think about that. Wherever you're interacting with the customers, the customer demographic is changing, and therefore AI-based systems can actually help you reimagine the kind of care that you are going to provide. So let's look at the customer experience for an example. How far along AI technology has come. So you're familiar with Siri and Alexa, the voice assistants that provide information. I look at them as just information assistants. You want how the shark might sound under the water? That's the kind of answer it can provide. But AI has now moved to call center operations where AI systems are now assisting the agents to provide the right kind of answer. Think about, this is not the experience of course, the millennials, but think about the time when we called up an organization, whether it's a telco company or any retail company, and sat on the phone, because of the whole time, because the agent was unable to provide the right kind of answer. May I put you on hold? Let me check with my lead, or let me check with my manager. Actually now, AI systems are providing the help right then and there, so the agents don't have this dead air or the whole time, and they are feeling empowered to provide the right kind of answer. Actually, we found in a very large deployment of agent assist, the solution pattern for the global consumer goods company, that 20% improvement in customer satisfaction and 25% reduction in second call. 25% reduction in second call from the customers. So these are real outcomes because these are real dollar values. And now AI is even advanced to the way it is able to not sound robotic, but it is actually sound very human-like. I don't know whether many of you have seen this Google demo, which happened in summer. So let's listen to the demo.
Hi, I'm calling to book a women's haircut for a client. I'm looking for something on May 3rd. Sure, give me 1 second. Sure, what time are you looking for around? At 12 p.m. We do not have a 12 p.m. available. The closest we have to that is a 1:15. Do you have anything between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m.? Depending on what service she would like, what service is she looking for? Just a woman's haircut for now? Okay, we have a 10.
Yeah, so I wanted to actually do an experiment with all of you. Without showing this demo, I just wanted you to listen to the voices and ask you which one was human and which one was which one was an AI system. It was so close to how the humans. I don't know whether did you see how it's even using human expression, colloquialism like and that's why you had the audience laugh when the demo was done. So the text-to-speech synthesis has come so far along that you can actually have them have different kinds of accents, different kinds of tone that is more reflective of your organization. So here you saw there was an AI system which was calling a human at the hair salon to make an appointment. The day is not too far when the phone would have been, actually the call would have been attended by another AI system at that hair salon. That day is not too far away. And so you can imagine how our lives are now enriched so that we get more time to do the things that we enjoy most. The tasks are being handled by AI system. And what AI is able to perform really well is what we call narrow AI, particular domain like making an appointment for a haircut or a restaurant or in terms of mortgage call center application. They're able to do really well. Where they are still maturing is in what we call open dialogue, meaning that conversation you and I can have. I talk today to AI and I can actually do blockchain also because I work in blockchain. So I'm able to shift from subject to subject and I can understand the context in which you're asking me a question and move around different subjects. The AI systems are not there yet, and that's where my research in my startup, Amicus Brain, is focused on. I'm focused on providing AI companionship to dementia patients. Today, 5.7 million Americans are suffering from Alzheimer's disease. And 16 million Americans are providing them unpaid care, which is valued at something like $232 billion. So, and caregiver burnout is a very real problem. problem, and geriatric care is the lowest choice for any kind of nursing training. So you put all these together, as we all move into our twilight years, it's going to be pretty lonesome and pretty debilitating when all of us are at risk of having dementia. So I want to completely reimagine the cognitive care for dementia patients with AI-assisted services. That's what Amicus Brain is focused on. Okay, so let me highlight the decision part of it. So I talked about how AI helps you reimagine the customer care. Now, AI also helps you to make the best possible decision in the wealth of data that you collect. That is what, think about credit risk. Today, credit risk is credit risk assessment is based on my past behavior, like FICO scores and so on. But that's just so outdated because it is only predicated upon how I behaved with past obligations. It doesn't take into account what my real financial potential is. Actually, just recently FICO announced that it's going to be using bank cash transactions in order to understand the cash flow. So slowly they are coming to the point where credit risk assessment is going to use a multitude of data sources, not just a past obligation, but how people are paying their small obligations like rent and phone bills, mobile phone bills, and so on, as well as their personality. And for that, it's not a human being who can look at all the data and make an objective decision and consistently objective decision. And that's where the AI systems come in. So in fact, AI-assisted blue lineage, some of you might know, is sometimes hailed and sometimes reviled. As a part of multi-track securities, I provided advisory services to him in terms of how the credit box can be opened for another 45 million Americans today whose credit is either impaired or who are credit invisible, by truly bringing the power of AI to evaluate people in a very innovative manner, not just based on what their FICO score is. And last but not least, this is where banks are reaping the true value of AI. As you well know, as government oversight agencies are publishing regulations and policies year after year with changes and updates to them, you have this entire risk team of lawyers pouring through this in order to make sense of the regulations, what has changed, what has remained the same, and translating them into operational control. And what we did at IBM actually was work with one of the oldest institutions, financial institutions in America, and built an AI system that can pour through US regulations, Germany, UK, all these regulations, and actually pick out the obligations, the mandatory obligations that an institution needs to adhere to, and compare them with what was in the past, highlight the changes. So this task of pouring through these documents manually and highlighting is actually now relegated to the AI system, and the chief risk officer, the risk professionals team is more directed at figuring out what needs to be changed in operational controls in order to be truly compliant. And enormous amount of time gets saved, and then uniformity of interpretation of the laws. Because you swap John from Jane, and they may interpret the regulation in a slightly different way. Across the industry, how do you enforce these regulations in a consistent manner? AI systems can truly help. Okay, so truly automation is continuing. What we used to do with Excel workbooks and macros, and then you might have heard of RPA, robotic process automation, is the vogue now in many banks implementing that. The true automation is heading where it is headed is infusing AI as part of every part of your organization, front office, mid office, and back office. So there are, of course, when people talk to you about AI, and whether they are selling you a product, an offering, or whether they are asking for one thing, everybody has to be mindful of is the risk AI carry. So AI systems are trained from human-generated data, human-labeled data. That means the biases we have put into the data carry over to the AI system. You might have read many New York Times articles and others wherein they have highlighted the AI systems-based decisions discriminating against certain groups of population. Just recently, Amazon was using an AI-based system to evaluate resumes of candidates. It was discriminating against women candidates. Why? The data used to train the AI system was all from male candidates, the resumes of male candidates. So you've got to be mindful of the bias and the risk of discrimination that AI system can bring. So demand the purpose of the AI system, ask for transparency, how the AI system was trained, and then in order to truly develop the trust between the human and the AI system, because the day is not too far away when human beings are going to be working side by side with these robots, helping us to make the best decision is to be able to identify and mitigate the bias right from get-go. And so development of AI ethics must keep pace with the innovation which is relentless. So with that, thank you.